As we approach the end of this year, let's quickly review some of the sci-fi fantasy films of 2014. Transformers Age of Extinction is a 3-hour waste of time. The sound mix is loud, the plot is unfocused, and the characters are either undeveloped or racist. If I had to choose just one example of how scattered this movie is, it would be a scene immediately after a car chase in which the boyfriend explains that under certain circumstances, statutory rape is legal in Texas, and keeps a copy of the law in his wallet.
We dated for a little while. I was a sophomore and he was a senior. It's fine.
No, it's not fine.
We've got a pre-existing juvenile foundational relationship. Statute 2705-3.
What? Texas statute? Is that a real law?
Yep.
Really? A movie produced by a toy company is telling us that statutory rape is legal in Texas? What was the purpose of this scene? Was this bit of trivia setting up something that would pay off later? Would Mark Wahlberg's character suddenly find himself on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and end up saving the day by answering questions about Romeo and Juliet law?
You're absolutely right!
Just like that scene, this movie is pointless. The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, is what its subtitle says it is, a really lengthy battle. This battle goes on for so long that no other movie for the next year and a half needs to have one. Peter Jackson has got it covered for everyone. While enjoyable, there are too many characters and the audience doesn't receive any time to relate to any of them. Just as with the two previous films, adding scenes that set up the events of The Lord of the Rings feels unnecessary, somewhat flagrant, and distracts from the main plot. When the battle is over, the film continues to drag on and misses several opportune moments to just give us a satisfying ending. Maleficent is the story of Sleeping Beauty told from the perspective of that film's villain. Angelina Jolie does a respectable job in the titular role, and her makeup and costumes are impressive. Note this film is rated PG, most likely due to its fantasy violence and the way the film establishes Maleficent's motivation for her villainy is ethically and criminally disturbing. Like other recent remakes of children's classics, this film includes a dark battle that is long and unnecessary. Also, there's a twist in the end that is exactly the same as the twist in another recent Disney movie. Did they think audiences wouldn't notice this recycled plot point? Overall, Maleficent is a decent film that develops the lead character far more than the original animated movie did. Interstellar takes place in a future in which Earth's natural resources have been depleted, and Matthew McConaughey is an astronaut who embarks on a desperate mission to find humanity a new home. The end will leave you with lots of questions, and there are plot holes that are larger than the wormholes they fly through. But it's an ambitious film that takes risks that other movies would never consider out of fear of alienating audiences. It's also nearly 3 hours long, so plan your body appropriately. Don't expect a masterpiece from Guardians of the Galaxy. It's essentially 2 hours of chasing a MacGuffin. Like a lot of Marvel films, it suffers from a lack of character development on the part of the villain, but it's funny, well-paced, and has good music, with a post-credits scene that will definitely leave you wondering, who would have thought you would end up caring so much about a giant walking tree? On the surface, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is a movie about the growing war between apes and humans with amazing visual effects. Dig deeper, and this film is about racism, gun control, and the challenges of foreign policy. All of the key characters are so well developed that you can even relate to the villains' points of view. None of the characters are unreasonable in their opinions, they just disagree to a point that boils into violence. While much has already been said about how realistic the apes look, the visual effects only enhance each character's development rather than depend on it. If you were to watch this movie without sound, you would still be able to understand each character's motivation just by looking at their eyes, regardless of them being real or computer generated. XMen: Days of Future Past is a refreshing return to its original themes of social equality and civil rights. Loosely based on a popular storyline from the 1980s, Days of Future Past takes place in two different time periods, in a dystopian future when almost all of the mutants have been exterminated by the government, and in the 1970s when the policies leading up to the government-mandated genocide were originating. This movie reinvigorates the franchise that lost its way with the third X-Men movie and those solo Wolverine films. Michael Fassbender, Jennifer Lawrence, and Peter Dinklage are fantastic, and Hugh Jackman has a nude scene. Captain America: The Winter Soldier is an energetic spy thriller which deals with contemporary issues of privacy rights and government overreach. Since our hero's World War II origin story has already been told in an earlier film, this movie can jump straight to a present-day setting that's more relatable to today's movie-going audience. The action is more grounded in reality than other comic book movies, in that our heroes battle punches, bullets, and car crashes rather than lasers, magic, and aliens. Also, unlike other Marvel films, the villain is well developed with a motivation that is initially reasonable but becomes criminal when taken to its extreme. This movie hits all the right beats of action, intrigue, and humor that rivals that of 2012's The Avengers, as Captain America and S.H.I.E.L.D. uncover a vast conspiracy that affects the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe.